show. I hope you guys are ready for a fun stream tonight. We are going to be talking about all things knives, and especially going to be talking about this one in the beginning because I'm going to do a little live review of this here, mini review anyways. This is the ST141. So if you saw the short that I released earlier this week, we did the unboxing for this, and we're going to do a little live review of this tonight. So before we get started, let's go through a couple quick things. I am prepping with Sarge, so if this is your first time with the channel, appreciate you. Please consider subscribing if you like what you see. I talk about all things preparedness, including some wilderness survival, some foraging, lots of gardening videos, lots of financial preparedness, and yes, I do love to talk about knives as well. If you enjoy anything content tonight, if you get anything of value, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Sorry, the camera is at a really weird angle tonight. All the knives that we're going to talk about tonight are listed, or most of the knives that we're going to talk about tonight are listed in the description down below. Please check that out when you get a chance. And welcome. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. All right. Let's go ahead and say hi to, I saw Chrome Dome, Omega, and Scorpion Metals there. And if you are lurking in the background, don't be shy. Go ahead and say hi. We love to chat. We'll probably have some mods popping in here at some point. Lazarus, good to see you, my friend. We're going to have some mods probably popping in here at some point. Please be respectful in the chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, please be respectful in comments, especially to the mods. And always, if I ever have any guests, I don't have any guests today. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. So go ahead and drop them in caps in chat. That helps me catch those. And I guess that's it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, all right, so I wanted to talk about the ST141 tonight. So this is, if you saw the unboxing, this thing comes, I'm gonna move the camera head just a little bit. All right, this thing comes in a variety of colors. I really liked that jade. And that is G10 handle, and it is ball bearing, I confirmed, which it's gonna be hard to do this, which gives it that nice drop shot and really slick opening. Oh man, yeah, my angle on this camera is gonna be a problem. It's really slick on the opening. Now this steel is D2 steel, so let's talk about that for a minute, because recently I did another video about one of the other knives in D2 steel, and somebody had made a comment about D2 steel being a very cheap steel. That's not true at all. D2 steel is, good job, Steve. I love that. You shouldn't. It should be part of your EDC, right? D2 steel is actually a middle of the road steel. And what it is it actually is used for tools. So if you've got hammers around your house, you've got D2 steel. And because it's got a really nice hardness value to it, it was inevitable that the knife community was going to start working with it to create knives. So it has a really nice middle of the road balance between corrosion resistance, hardness, and edge retention. Now I have not sharpened this since I got it, so we're going to go ahead and try to do a little sharpness test here. Hey, Vanessa Kitties, good to see you. So one of the sharpness tests that you can do. All right, I'm going to be moving the camera around here just a little bit, guys, so bear with me. I apologize for camera shake here. One of the sharpness tests that you can do is the paper cut test, right? I'm going to move this up here so I can show you guys the paper cut test. All right, and I might actually just keep the camera up here. It might be a little bit easier to work with for the rest of the video. All right, paper cut test. So the idea here is that the paper does not have a lot of durability, so it's going to have a lot of give, and so you really do need a good edge to be able to cut through paper. Let's see how this bad boy does. Yeah, and larger knives are legal in my fishing kit. So a lot of these knives, make sure you're checking your local laws because they do vary from state to state. I'm in South Carolina, which has very loose knife laws. Pretty much anything I want, I can buy. There's only, I think, maybe one exception, a gravity knife or something like that. So let's see how this thing does. Oh yeah. All right, so obviously that's doing really well. Okay. So right out of the box, and I've only used this a little bit so far. Very nice sharpness. I haven't sharpened it at all. Now another little sharpness test you can do, and this is for all your knives, not just for like new knives out of the box. Another little test you can do. That's a good question, Vanessa Kitty. So I like to use the, actually let me move here and I'll show you real quick. All right, so when I am hiking or camping, I am always carrying this one with me. This is the Viking Whetstone from Wazoo Survival Gear, and I put a link to them down in the description as well. When I'm at home, I like to use a larger sharpening stone, which I don't have available with me right this second to show you. But it's basically a large, like brick-sized sharpening stone like that. And it's got a rough grit and a fine grit on the other side. Now, my wife, who's a chef, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not allowed to touch my wife's knives, which are very, very different kind of knives from what you see here. My wife uses a very different sharpening system, which you probably see in the chefs with the rod that do that both sides. That's what she usually uses, and you can get a strop. I don't have a strop. Probably will add that to my kit at some point. It's definitely a good thing to have. But diamond stones are fantastic. So there's all kinds of good systems. But when I'm hiking or camping, I always got this one with me, the Viking Whetstone, because this is really good. And because of the different angles of this stone, you can see what I mean. You can hit all kinds of different edges with that. All right, back to the ST-141. So we got the D2 steel, we got G10 handles, we got a ball bearing system. And then this has a liner lock, as you can see. So you depress that to close it, and it's should be able to do it now. Very drop shutty, and it's got a flipper for deployment. Whoops. Deep carry pocket clip, and that is not reversible without modifying the knife. It is tip up, which most people like tip up carry. It's, there may be some people out there who prefer to not have tip up, to have tip down, but most people like tip up carry. This is a very slick knife, and it's a very, very pretty knife. All right, let's see if we can get the centering here in the light. It's really nice. I got a little flashlight here. Let's see if we can get an even better. That's the only, I don't know if you guys can even pick up on it. The only flaw I found on this, and it's like a $30 knife. So for $30, this is a really well-built knife. Right here, I'll show you again in a second. There's just a little bit of the difference between where the blade meets that like blacked out blade. Do you see it? That's the only flaw I could find in the craftsmanship. Really, really nice. It is a heavier knife. This one weighs, I gotta jump over to my notes here for a second. This one is 4.84 ounces, so it's a little bit on the heavier side. Similar to this is a heavier one. This is the Kershaw Barricade. Okay, and I've done a video review for that if you want to check that out. That's the Kershaw Barricade. The blade length on this is 3.54 inches, so that is legal in most states. Just make sure you're checking your local. The overall length when it's deployed is 8.38 inches. Handle length is 4.84 inches. And so far, I like this a lot. The hardness rating on the D2 steel is somewhere around 60 HRC. So it's a very strong type of steel. All right. It's a little fancy, right? It's a fancy knife. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Benchmade makes fantastic knives. I mean, you really can't go wrong there. Now I know we say in the community, we say use your stuff, right? We say use your stuff. And most of these have gotten some pretty good use. There is a few that I almost never take out just because I like knives, and there are a few that go into the case and they're for showing off. And that's probably what this one is going to be for me. But you could use this as your EDC. And I've watched several other videos on this that's been torture tested and really held up surprisingly well for a $30 knife. Now, the person that I watched that did one of the torture testing videos, he just beat the crap out of it. And eventually, yeah, it did start to show knife play. Now, knife play is when there's like wobble in there. And at that point, you're going to probably have to take it apart and tighten everything up to get it to work, which might be a little bit of a challenge with the ball bearing system. But he beat the crap out of it before it got to that point. So you definitely could make this your EDC. For me, this is just going to be one of those pretty ones that I pull out, show my friends, things like that. All right. So any questions? That is the ST-141. The jade handle, I put a link for that in the description, but there are other colors, and you can see if I hold it up real close there is a little bit of texturing to the handle. It's not super grippy, but just enough. It's got just enough, a little bit of grip to it. All right, let's put this one aside, and we'll kind of go through these. We're going to talk. Oh, I wanted to show you one other thing. Sorry. Now that simple test I was going to tell you for sharpness. So we're going to see if I can get this edge lined up 90 degrees with the camera, and we're going to shine a light on this. And what you're looking for is glint. Okay. Now I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. But there is a little tiny bit of glint, and I'll show you where. Okay, see where my finger is right here? Watch that. Let's see if I can get it again. Okay, you can see it a little bit there. It's much more visible to the naked eye. And what that is, when you see that, a little bit different. See it there? Like right there. When you can see that glint, that section needs to be sharpened. Okay, so that's a little bit of a test that you can do with the naked eye. Now, you just saw it cut through the paper. Let me try to do another little section of the paper with that and just see if we notice any little bit of a difference. So it was like right there. Let's just see if we notice a difference. Yeah, you see how it's just a little bit more. It'll still do it. It's a little bit more resistant. Okay, so that needs to be touched up. Let me see if I can find one that's not been sharpened in a long time, and I can show you a better example. I don't think I've touched this one up in a long time. We'll see if we can show you that glint again. All right, and again, it's going to be easier for me to see it in here, but I see two spots already. Spyderco tenacious, by the way. So I'm going to put my finger on them, and then I'm going to show you again. So let me see. I got to find it. Okay, I see this whole section right here. Section right here needs to be sharpened. Let me see if I can line it up so you can see the glint what I'm talking about. Hey everybody, I see everybody popping in. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's going to be okay, you can kind of see it there. There. Okay. See it? It's hard to see through the camera but to the naked eye, if you do this with your knives, you're going to see it really well. Okay, and so that needs to be sharpened in that section. All right, just a little test you can do to check it right off the bat. Now we said use your knives. As you can see, this one's gotten some good use. Okay, and some of them have, some of them haven't. This one is one of my oldest knives. I actually got this in the 1980s. I need to hit it with some vinegar and like steel wool. Okay, and this is a Bali song, right? So this may not be legal in your state, but it's they're kind of fancy martial arts knives. Is this quicker than a flipper? Not really. I'll show you. So watch how quick I can do this. Obviously, if you practice, you can get quicker than that. And then I'll show you. This is just a little. This is, I think, like a $40 knife. When I got it, it was much cheaper. And a flipper, that's quicker, right? So modern knives, right? These are fun and they're fancy, but modern knives are definitely quicker. And there's out the front ones, and there's automatic ones, things like that, that are really, really quick at deployment. Now, if you are going to get one of these Bali songs, what I do recommend is that you get a trainer. This is a trainer. Let me show you what that looks like. So a trainer has, and I forgot to put one of these in the description. I'll try to link it afterwards. So a trainer has no sharp edges. So when you're practicing, learning how to flip it and things like that, you want to get a trainer until you've got it down, and then you can do it without that, right? And then there's different things you can do. So the back of the Bali song is always blunted, right? So if this was the blade edge, right, the back of it's always blunted. So when you see people doing tricks with it, what they're doing is they're catching the blunt end like that, and then you can do different flips and things like that. Again, the camera angle is not great for me to show this right now. We'll do another little video, kind of show you some of that stuff. But yeah, if you like Bali songs and you're into traditional martial arts and things like that, get yourself one of these trainers, please. You don't need to slice fingers up to learn how to do this. All right. I saw a couple questions. Let me pause here for a second. All right. Let's see. Y'all having a good Friday so far? Is anybody got anybody drinking anything out there that they want to share in the chat? You don't have to. Usually 4 inches for some states. 4 inches of the blade tends to be the area that some states tend to have problems with. Chrome Dome Omega, did it get a 9mm test? Some people will shoot it to test durability. No, I did not give it the 9mm test. But if you on the torture test that I was telling you about, he was doing all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't do with a folder, like batoning, chopping, all kinds of crazy stuff, and it held up really, really well. Just reading your comments here. The Work Sharp has a coarse, fine ceramic and strop on it. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, I'll check that out. Yeah, and the other thing you can do is, let me show you this real quick too. Wazoo Survival Gear has these fire starter necklaces. The ceramic can be used to touch up a blade as well. And I've done that. You can use that to out in the field, especially like a bushcraft knife like this. You're just going to give it like a light, like that. And actually, I felt that it's like catching a burr up there. I don't know if you heard it. You might have even heard it. Hear it right there at the end, near the end. Hear it? So that needs to be touched up right there. Can you hear it? Okay. So yeah, so these are pretty cool too. For now, it's not going to sharpen; it will touch up a blade. All right. We can almost any knife, but they must be kept in home. The requirements to carry are more strict. Are you in California, Vanessa Kitty? Do you mind if I ask? Because I know there's like 5 states that are pretty restrictive: California, New York, Massachusetts, probably Washington and Oregon would be my guesses, but I'm not 100% sure on that. All right, so then when you're talking about some other knives here, let's take a look. This is just like a gimmicky, right? Not really. I got this at a convention. Not really anything I would rely on. It was just kind of a fun little knife to get. So it's discreet, right? And it actually, that pen will work. But this is not something you would want to rely on for anything. Just kind of a little fun little gimmick. And then on the really low end budget, this is what a lot of people are carrying. These are just like Walmart knives, the Ozark Trail. I might do a torture test or something with this at some point, but I could tell right out of the box that like this is, let's try a sharpness test on it because I haven't used this hardly at all. I just got it because I thought, well, at some point maybe I'll do a review to show the difference between like a low end knife. Yeah, it could be it could be a letter opener. That's a good suggestion. I thought maybe I'll do a like a low end knife versus like a $200 knife kind of video at some point, but let's just see how it does because I haven't tried this. Yeah, you can see it's not happening, guys. No, yeah, that's not going to happen. All right, so this is these are like $6, right? So when people say, well, why would you want a $20 knife? Why would you want a $50 knife? Why would you want a $200 knife? When you could just get a $6 knife. Well, if you're just opening boxes and letters, yeah, this is probably fine, and it'll probably last you for your entire life. But you're going out into the woods and you're doing any kind of bushcrafting stuff, or use your knife a lot for work for other tasks, you don't want something like this. Okay. Sorry, Ozark Trail. For the average person, for like opening boxes and knives, that's going to be fine, but not for what I do. Now, a step up from that, right? So this is what I try to tell people. Like, this is a $200 knife. You don't have to get a $200 knife. A step up from that at only $20, you can get something like that. That's the K-Bar Dozer. This is a really good knife, and you can see, let's put the work in. Take a look at that blade, right? This is a really good knife. Will probably last you your entire life, and it's like $20. So you can get one of these that I wouldn't trust my life with, and you could get one of these, which this is going to hold. This is going to keep pace. This will keep pace with us with many of the $75 knives. This is a great knife. Is it fancy? No, it can't do like some of the stuff that my $200 knife can do. Right? I can't I can't Spidey flick it. Right? It can't drop shot. Do it. It can't drop shot, but it's a little workhorse. When I open this one up, and I did a review on this one, you can check that out as well. You can search for, so when I show any of these knives, this is the K-Bar Dozer. You can look for Prepping with Sarge, K-Bar Dozer, and if I've done a review on it, it's going to come up. One thing I noticed hey, Rosemary, it's good to see you. when I opened this, I did not like the feel of these scales. It feels of this handle. It feels really cheap. It feels really cheap. Okay, and I was like, oh, I don't like that right off the bat. But I did my research on it, and actually, it's called, I think, FRN, fiberglass reinforced nylon, and it actually is pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Okay, and so this steel, what is this? I forget. It's just a stainless steel with a black coating. I don't remember on the video on the review that I did for this. I explained that, but yeah, for $20, spend the little extra, and you're gonna have a great knife that's gonna last you the rest of your life. Okay. All right. Here's another one of those ones that I did a review on this one. This is the CRKT CEO, and this is just like a fun little executive kind of knife. This is a fancy letter opener, but it's actually very functional too. Let's see if I can. I'm at a weird angle here. Some people don't like this one. They say it's hard to flick. I don't find that at all. For me, it's really slick. You just have to. The trick is you got to, when you're pressing that thumb stud right there, you're gonna go out and up like that. Not this way, not that way, but I'll try it again. It's my angle. It's really hard to see. I'm in a really awkward position here doing this. There we go. All right. So that's the CRKT. I don't remember the price on this one, but it's in the description. And this is a fun one that I'm probably not going to use for for bushcrafting. I did a little bit of testing with it, held up really well. But I'm not likely to, like, if I had to grab one knife and go, this is not going to be the knife. If I had to grab a knife out of my safe and or my knife chest and show, like, hey, check out this fancy knife, this one's coming out. Really pretty knife. And I do believe, yeah, you should use your stuff, but I believe it's also nice to just have collectible pieces that you don't want to ding up. And this is one of those. All right. I'll show you one of the other fancy knives that I'll probably never use for bushcraft stuff. Yeah, it's a little awkward. You're right, Bantalk. It feels a little bit weird, you know. But the other cool thing about this is, like, if I go out to a nice dinner with my wife and this was my carry, it just looks like a pen, right? Or maybe a vape pen or whatever. Nobody's gonna think that's a knife unless they know what it is, right? All right, so this is the other one. This is my most expensive knife. This is the Spyderco Smock. This was a grill knife for me. I really wanted it for a long time, and it was out of. They don't make them anymore, or they didn't make them anymore, and then suddenly they re-released them, and I jumped on it because I wanted one for years. This is a $200 knife, and it's very fun. It's a fun and fidgety knife. You can do that Spidey flick there. Again, I'm doing this at a weird angle. It's got a. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do a liner lock. It's not. It's a button lock. See? And usually pretty drop shotty. See if I can do the Spidey flick again. There we go. So you can do the underhanded. It's like this. Or you can do, it's got a little, like, tiny MIDI flipper there. So you can, like that. Straight razor is a good choice, right? Or you can do a thumb flick. Right. This is a fun and fidgety knife, and this one's never going to probably get the use out of it because it's just, again, yeah, oh, it's pretty. This is a pretty knife. Look at that. Look at the handle. And I love it. I love the beauty of it so much that I don't want to ding that one up. All right. This was my bushcraft knife until recently, and I retired it in favor of the next knife that I'll show you after this. But this is a really good, like, retired, like, it's still going to get some use. It's not going to be my main one anymore. This is the Gerber Strong Arm, and this is probably coming in around like $85 or $90. Yeah, you can chop with this. Yeah, you can baton with this. I have been doing things in the woods for most of my life. I've been doing it since childhood. I've never felt the need to do those things. There are a couple applications for batoning. If you're using, like, one of those little rocket stoves, or you're building shelters and you need to make a little piece to go in somewhere. Yeah, these shouldn't open in your pocket, Vanessa Kitty. The ones that I have heard of a few people clipping themselves with is the automatics. I don't have any automatics here with me, but I have heard of a few people accidentally deploying them in their pocket. Um, So this is, yeah, this is a very capable knife. This is the Gerber Strong Arm, and if you're looking for a fixed blade full tang made in the USA, which I know a lot of you are really all about that, made in the USA, this you can't go wrong with this. This you could get this, and it's going to serve you for the rest of your life for survival knife purposes, camping, bushcrafting, whatever. It is a very, very capable knife. And it has a younger brother called the Gerber Prodigy, which I also have. It's just not here on my table. The Gerber Prodigy is also very, very capable. They're great knives. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm really retiring it. It's just going to be getting less used because I have went to this one here. Now, this is the SE4, and SE4 is you're coming in around $125 for one of the. No, I'm sorry, this one is I think 150. So it's my second most expensive knife. It's gotten a little bit of use so far, but you can see it really hasn't even been broken in yet. So I'm going to be going camping here next month actually, and this is going to be coming with me, and this is going to be getting its really first full workout. SE is made in the United States. I actually met some of the people that work there at Georgia Bushcraft, and this is a very capable knife. Again, if you spend $150 for this, it's buy once, cry once. You'll never have to buy another bushcraft knife in your life, unless you lose it. Very, very capable, very, very capable. So I'm looking forward to breaking this one in a little bit more. Yeah, SE is fantastic. Another great brand is Tops. I don't have a Tops knife. But I would, if somebody said to me, "Well, I had $300, what would I get?" I would say, in that range, if you want a fixed blade bushcraft or survival knife, something that's going to last you for the rest of your life, I would say either get an SE or Tops personally. Okay. All right, couple more to go through here, folks. Yeah, and they have some interesting knife designs. You're right. This one here, I'm not going to tell you what this one is. Let's see if there's anyone out there in the community that knows what that is. Okay. See if anyone's ever seen one of those before. There's your little hint. All right. See if anyone gets that. Spyderco Tenacious is coming in around 60-ish dollars. Now Spyderco knives tend to be pretty pricey. They're very, very well made, great company. But they're a little bit pricey. This is one of their entry level knives. And this one got a lot of, yeah, dove season, that's it, right? And who might have those out in the field? This is a fun little knife. It's very, very fidgety, right? Yep. Yep. That's right. Whoops. Man, sitting at a bad angle. That's right. The ghosts do. Oh man, thank you very much, Bacon. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I've been wanting to do a knife live stream for a while. Um, this is a nice entry into this particle system. You take a look at that handle, very, very grippy. And let me see. Pull it out of the screen for a second. So it's 8CR13 MOV. That's a decent, entry level steel. It's going to need to be sharpened up more than a high carbon fiber. So with all knives, with all knives, you are there's some give and take, right? So if you want a knife that's easily sharpened, then it's not going to have a hardness factor. If you want a knife that's very corrosion resistant, it's not going to hold its edge very as long, right? So you're always like having to decide what you want. Like that is a high carbon steel. That's going to hold up for a really long time, really great hardness, but it's a little bit maybe slightly more prone to corrosion resistance, so you need to know how to maintenance that. You can see this one here definitely has gotten a lot of use. This was my EDC for like the last 2 years, and I recently retired it in favor of that one there, which I just did a review for that. So I've been given this one. I love it. You guys are great with these comments. This one here is my new EDC. See it's starting to get a little bit of wear and tear, which is fine. Use your stuff, right? I just did a review on this one. Check it out. And it is whoops. Again, this is just the angle I'm at. I'm sorry, guys. If I wasn't in this angle, I could do that really easy. It's very, very fun, very fidgety. It's a little bit tightened up now, but I can fix that. Still very drop shotty, right? So, man, that's embarrassing. There we go. So you can do that Spidey flick. I mean, this is just, I sit there sometimes when I'm working on something and I'm just like, I play with knives, right? If I was a little kid, maybe I played with a fidget spinner, but I'm not. I play with knives. And yeah, I sometimes cut myself. That's the price you pay when you like knives. All right, next one up here. This is the CRKT M1601S. Now this one here is also, I bought this a couple years ago and there's a review up for this. This was my EDC for a little while. Very, very, very lightweight, very thin, very low profile. It is a frame lock, right? This might be the only frame lock that I have to show you. So if you look at it, the piece of the frame moves over when it opens, right? And it's got the flipper. Whoops. Sorry. Oh man, gotta put a little oil in there. There we go. So it's got the flipper, and then frame locks. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people consider them safer than the liner locks. But that's the only one I have that's a frame lock in my collection. It is not drop shutty. Okay, but look at that thin profile. Very, very lightweight. Like this fits in your pocket and you forget that it's there. Yeah, if you're enjoying my content, guys, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Appreciate it. If you're brand new to the channel, I do like to talk about all this kind of stuff, so please consider subscribing. That's right. That's right. All right, if you are a bushcrafter, you must have this one in your collection. It is a must-have, and I'm sure you guys have all seen this one. This is the Mora knife, and you can get these under $30. These are fantastic, made in Sweden, stainless steel. You can see this one's definitely put some work in. You have to have this in your collection if you're into camping and bushcraft and survival and that kind of stuff. Now you don't have to get the spark. This is the spark, and the only reason it's called the spark is you've got this little thing on the end, and you got a little ferro rod fire starter, and that's gotten a lot of use too. Actually, it's looking pretty good for the amount of use that I've put into that. It's actually held up pretty well. But yeah, this one always goes camping with me as well. So when I go on my next trip next month, whoops, trying to do this out. Let me put it out of the camera for a second. So when I go camping next month, I'll have that one, and maybe one of my pocket knives, probably the leaf, probably that one. So yeah, depending on what I'm doing, you know, sometimes carry more because they put in different work. Like this is my Cold War Prepper. Good to see you. No problem. Good to see you. This is my, and you can see that's from striking the ferro rod. Use your stuff, right? Yeah. All right, next one up. This is Holtzman Gorilla Survival Knives. This is a Tanto tip. Why would you want a Tanto tip? Well, they actually that's probably your best for piercing. And this is also D2 steel, which we talked about at the start of the video. And as you can see, it hasn't gotten that much use yet. I have played around with it. You know what? Actually, that's what I'll do. On the camping trip, maybe I'll put this one aside and I'll use this one a little bit. And maybe I'll try to get some footage of these when I'm camping, guys. But it's pretty. I mean, look at the orange lines, and the sheath that it comes with has matching to that, and has a matching ferro rod with the orange line. I've got a link for this in the description. I'm actually an affiliate with Holtzman Gorilla Survival Knives if you want to check that out. Yeah, Tanto tips are like if you have to do stabby into like a wild animal that's attacking you, two-legged or four-legged, then that's what you want. If your training is more onto like slashy, then maybe you want like a karambit. I don't have a karambit to show you here. I do have a karambit, but I just didn't put it out on the table here. Uncle Al's been showing, Die Bullfrog 79's been showing a karambit in a lot of his videos, so you can check that out. And this was my EDC for a long time. You can see it's definitely put a lot of work in. This is the M16 CRKT M21 04G, I believe. And let's see that like gumminess near the tip. I want to show you with the ceramic. Hang on. It's going back to this from our friends at Wazoo Survival Gear. That's like something that this can come in handy for. And did you hear how that cleaned up? Right, and there's the gum. Can you see it? Now, there's still some on there, but it's a little bit better. I'm not going to waste your time here doing that on the video too much, but that's a good example of how you could use that. And it's also touching up the blade just a little bit. So when you do that, when you play with your knives a lot, you'll get used to like the feel and the sound of what it's like when it sharpens, when it needs to be sharpened. So like there's a sound. I don't know if the camera's picking this up at all, but no, now it's not. Hear that? Hear it? That means there's a little bit of burr there, and you can feel it. I don't know. It's probably hard to see in the camera, but there's like a little bit of pushback on my fingers, just like a little bit of resistance. And then when you hit the sharp part, it's not. It feels smooth. There we go. It's getting smooth. Smooth. Okay. All right. So that's pretty good. I just touched that up, just sitting here, and picked up a little bit of burrs and some gum there and whatnot. So this is a handy little tool. Wazoo survival gear. Check that out. So this is the M21. These are called VEF serrations. There's still a little bit of gum on there. I'll fix that later. These are called VEF serrations. In theory, they're for cutting cordage. They cut through cordage really easily. It's debatable. Some people don't like them. To me, I kind of liked it. I found that it did work pretty good with paracord. A little bit tough to sharpen. You want to get like, you're going to need something that's got like a rounded, like that, to get in there. And it's going to take you some time, right? It's a little bit tedious, but you know, that's up to you if you like the serrated edge or not. That was my EDC for a very long time. And this one's got called a button safety. It's a really strange feature that not many knives have. Some people don't like it, but you have to depress that button and hit the liner lock. Pros and cons of that is it's a little bit more of a pain to close. You can't, it's really hard to do. And see how this thing is really needs to be taken apart and cleaned and oiled. But the advantage of that is like very minimal wobble, and it almost like, I can't push that. Let's see if the light can catch that. I can't push that frame lock. So it's almost as strong as a full tang, almost like as close as you're probably going to get with a folder. But I can't really, well, I guess you could, if it was really loose, you could one hand it. Not comfortable though. All right. And we got two more here. Now these are both Kershaws. I did videos on both of these if you want to check those out. This is the Kershaw barricade. This is my vehicle knife. And it's got the seatbelt cutter, the glass breaker, and Kershaw. This should still have pretty good edge retention. Kershaw has very good blades right out of the box in terms of sharpness. Let's give it a try. No, maybe not. Maybe I do need to sharpen it. There we go. Yeah, no. Kershaw blades are very, very sharp, and they're very affordable knives. Oops. Very affordable knives. I think it needs a little bit of sharpening up there. Oops. Okay, just to give you an idea, very, very sharp knives right out of the box. They don't need any work. So if you're like not somebody who's into the whole knife culture, you just want a really good functional knife that's gonna do well for you. This is a good blade. And it's my vehicle knife, so it doesn't get a ton of work. Take a look at it. You can see it's gotten a little bit of work, right? Liner lock, very sturdy. Like this is a beefy knife, okay? Glass breaker, and it's very, very fast. Kershaw, that's the other thing, is a lot of Kershaw knives are, it's actually, it feels like it's, I think it's spring assisted. So that might not be legal in your area. Very, very fast deployment. And a lot of Kershaw knives are known for that. Like the Blur, I think, also has that assisted opening. Really slick. Like, so let's compare that to, this is probably my second fastest, right? This is the Sitivian 141. Okay, that's pretty fast. Watch this. I mean, it's like a blur. So that's the barricade. Now, the downfall of this, doesn't feel good in your pocket. glass breaking thing, and it's just so big and so heavy, doesn't feel good in your pocket. That's why it's my vehicle knife. But good price too. Like I think this one comes in under 40, maybe even under 35. Yeah, everybody really should learn how to sharpen if you're in the survival and preparedness community for sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good knife. And then last one here is this is the Kershaw Shuffle. I did a review for this one as well. And this is a fun little, like I call it the barbecue knife, and many different comes with a lot of different fun colors. This is called lime green, but we really know it's zombie green. It's got a little screwdriver on the end. It's got a little bottle opener. And I mean, it's not intimidating, right? Like there's nothing intimidating like this. So if you go to the barbecue and you pull out this to open your can of bubbly, nobody's going to go, oh my God, he's got a knife. You know, Karen's not going to complain. I no lie, I actually had that like one time. I was at a party and I pulled out a knife to do something. I'm not doing it, I'm not showing off or anything like that. I think I was just cutting something for somebody. And somebody was like, why is he carrying a knife? Like, I don't know what your story is, but calm down. Because a knife is not a weapon, in my opinion. A knife is a tool. You may feel different about that, and that's okay, but that's yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, they could be weapons, of course, right? But my feeling on it is like, if I get into a situation where I've got to use this, I should have brought my bang bang. Okay, now you may not be able to carry a bang bang. Okay, so maybe you say, okay, I want to carry pepper spray and something like this. Somebody asked me a long time ago on one of these videos what my thoughts were on like a self-defense knife. Now, this being YouTube, again, I can't get into that too much, but hypothetically speaking, let's say that a wolf was attacking me. I would want a full tang knife. Full tang meaning that the blade steel goes all the way into the handle. I would want a fixed blade. This is a fixed blade. That's a folder, right? Why do they call it a folder? I don't know. Fixed blade won't do that. It's not going to close in on your fingers. I would want something that has a finger guard and good grippiness so that if it gets wet because I'm defending myself against a wolf, then it's not going to slide. Okay? Because you don't want to have that happen. That's going to be a bad day, right? So those are the qualities that I would be looking for in a knife to defend me against wild animals while I'm out walking in the Moab desert. Okay? You understand? Good. All right. Couple other concepts here, and then we'll start to call it a day. Uh, different types of my notes here. Different types of blades have different purposes, right? So that's called blade shapes. Okay, couldn't find my words. That's called a leaf. Okay, obviously we said that's a tanto tip. This is no, not that one. This is called a straight back. It's not really a straight back because there's a little bit of a what do we call that? There's a little bit of a spear point, or might be more like a clip point. But for the most part, that's about as close as I've got to a straight back. Actually, no, hang on. No, that's not really a straight back either. You get the idea, right? So that if this went all the way across, and again, that's not a full straight back. It does have a little bit of a drop, but that would be what a straight back would look like. Okay, a drop point. Let's see. I think this one's a drop point. Yeah, so that is that's like a drop point spear point hybrid. Okay, closer to a drop point, but it's got some of the elements of a spear point. Like a spear point would be a little bit more pronounced at that angle. This is a dagger type, right? That's called a dagger shape. What else do we got? I don't have a Warcliffe to show you. I don't have a sheep's foot to show you. Do I have a clip point? I do. Well, maybe. No, that's not a clip point either. Yeah, I don't really have a clip point. Sorry. But that's another type, and they have different purposes, right? So, like for bushcrafting and survival things like that, people generally want a straight back, right? Or close to a straight back. Like that's not exactly a straight back, but most of it is for stabby stabby against the wolves in the desert. Are there wolves in the desert? I don't know. You might want a tanto, right? So different things serve different points, and I want to serve different purposes. And the edge type, this is going to be a little bit hard to explain, but it's a good concept to understand. So when we talk about the edge type, what we're talking about is like, what does that look like if you looked at it really up close? I'm going to draw you a couple different examples. All right. So bear with me here just a second. I'm just doing something off screen. All right, please excuse my poor art skills. This here would be called a flat, okay? And that's main purpose would be for some whittling, cutting fruit, things like that. The next one here in the middle, and there's more other types than this. I'm just showing you a couple. That's called a Scandi grind, okay? And that is what's preferred for your survival and bushcraft knives. You would want a Scandi grind. Why? Well, it's got the nice angle for cutting, but because it's got so much more thickness behind that edge. That's right. Vanessa Kitty just said it perfectly. Fillet knives, flexible and thin, and you've got good control. And for something like this is called a Scandi grind. That's what you want for your survival and bushcraft because you can do, it's going to hold up against heavy abuse, working with wood, working with firewood, maybe processing for shelters and things like that. And it's going to hold up for a really long time. And then that's not the best picture. Give me a second here. I tried to make it a little bit better. That is called a chisel grind, okay? And that's often preferred for some woodworking and also sometimes for chefs might like a chisel grind for doing really thin slices on fruits and things like that, right? So again, my knives are different than my wife, the chef's knives, and she won't let me touch hers. I am not allowed to touch her, and she's got some expensive knives. Maybe she'll let me show them to you sometime, but probably not. Okay. All right, and then handles, we talked a little bit about G10. There are other handle types out there. Micarta, natural like wood, aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber, steel. Generally speaking, for a folder, I like G10. It just holds up really well. It's lightweight, very sturdy, and it usually has a little bit of grippiness texture to it. Leather would be another example as Cold War prepper. Leather would be another example of like a natural handle type, and that's gonna and the advantages of that might be that like when it gets wet, you know your grippiness might actually increase with a natural handle type. Okay. Um, all right. Uh, yeah, and this is why if you get into this kind of stuff, going out in the woods and playing Survivor Man and this kind of stuff like that, you maybe you don't need as many knives as I got, but I like knives, right? So like other people, why do you buy so many knives, Sarge? I don't know. Why do you buy so many purses? Why do you buy so many sneakers? Why do you buy so many shoes? Why do you buy so many earrings? Why do you buy so many? I like knives. Why do you buy so many comic books? Why do you buy so many baseball cards? I like knives. Okay, so you don't necessarily need as many as I've got. And this is about a third of my collection. Um, but what are the ones that I would absolutely recommend? Absolutely. More a knife for anybody in this community. More a knife, more a knife, more a knife. And then if you're on a budget and you're going to need a good folder, and if you're on a budget, like a really tight budget, I'm sorry to hear that, Vanessa Katie. Sorry, I was reading the comments. If you're on a budget, then you maybe the Boker dozer, right? So around $20. This is a heck of a knife. That's a drop point, by the way. That is a really good example of a drop point tip, and that is a heck of a knife. If you can go up to the $50 range, I don't know. Maybe you're thinking about something like that or something like that, right? Um, just kind of depends on what you're willing to spend. And then if you're wanting something a little bit more beefy than the Mora, and you don't have to, like this would do the job for you in most cases. But if you wanted to go a little bit up from that, then I would say $85 or so for the Gerber Strong Arm. If you really got a little bit more you want to spend, then I would go SE or tops. Okay. So, and that's what I would say for, like, you know, what's the minimum knives, right? So in the Bang Bang community, sometimes the Yep, exactly, bacon. Sometimes in the Bang Bang community, people will say, "Well, how many guns do I need? How many Bang Bangs do I need?" And the answer to that usually is you need a 12 gauge shotgun that can fire slugs and all the different types of pellet shot. You need a 22 LR for small game. You need a defensive pistol in whatever caliber you feel comfortable with, and you need some type of reach out and touch you rifle. Okay, so that can be 223, 556. Hey, Daniela Joy, or something a little bit bigger like a 308 or something like that. Right. So in the survival community, in the prepping community, in the bushcraft community, what's the minimum? You need a folder. You need a decent folder. You need a full tang fixed blade. That would be the minimum. Okay. Milwaukee's great. Yeah, a Hawkbill is good. Tanto lockback. So you've got your defenses all set for the wolves out in the Moab desert, right, Mac? All right. Let's see if there's any questions I missed. I'm just kind of popping back into the chat here, trying to follow y'all as you go. You all have any questions? Drop them in comments and drop them in chat in caps before I close this thing out. Okay. So Bacon asked, what would be a good knife? What would be a good kind of blade for someone with a relatively weak grip? Okay, so you would want to have a very sharp knife, because when you're cutting with an unsharp knife, you're going to hit resistance and snags, and you'll really feel this in like bushcrafting type stuff. Like if you're whittling a branch to make a feather stick or something like that, it's going to catch some sap and some knots and things like that, and it's going to hit some resistance. You want a really sharp knife, and you want a really good textured handle. Like I said, for me, I generally prefer G10 scales, but maybe you prefer something else like leather or wood. But for me, I generally like G10 scales. And so the sharpness of the blade and the texturing of the scale of the handle is how I would answer that question. Let me see if I missed any other questions. Yeah, you guys got any plans for this weekend, by the way? And also, please, oh, Tucker Carlson had an interesting segment on preppers. I'll have to look for that. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate the heads up. See if I can catch it on replay. Yeah, and I didn't even get into tempering and heat treatment. High carbon stainless. So this one, let me see which one is. You know what? Actually, I think this is a blend of high carbon and stainless, if I remember correctly. I would have to go back and read the specs. But heat treatment, just if you hear that word brought up in the community, what that means is it's a process during the knife making when they're superheating the steel and then cooling it, and there's different methods you can do for that depending on how much hardness you want in the steel. Right? There are some blades that you don't want a lot of hardness to, believe it or not. Some of the like fillet knives and things like that, where you actually want it to have a little bit of give. This actually seems like it would have that. See there, right there, you can see that glint right there. That's where it needs to be sharpened. That's a really good example. See it now? Okay, that's the best I can show you. See those two spots right where my thumb is? That's how you can spot it with the naked eye. That needs to be sharpened right there. Cool. And there's another one on the other side. See that little bit right there? It's not catching it as well, the light, but it's there. So that's what heat treatment is. And some people will say, for example, like, where's my D2s? So this is a D2. Some people will say, well, not all D2s are made correctly, and a lot of it has to do with the heat treatment, and that's what they mean, right? So when I do a video review and I say, well, that's D2 steel, that's really good steel, it also depends on the heat treatment. And some companies do things a little bit differently. Same steel, but the heat treatment's different. Okay, so just stuff to be aware of. Um, I usually will before hey, Bougie Preppers, good to see you. Hey, I saw your comment that you're in South Carolina. If you're near the coast, I'd like to get together sometime if you're up for it. We'll, maybe catch a cup of coffee or something like that if you're up for it. Um, yeah, man, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. I started my heat treatment. Oh well. Yeah, I forgot it. I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this. I do want you to. Oh, and one more thing. One more thing. If you all are a fan of action movies, I want you to go see John Wick 4. It is nonstop action. It is the most. So again, if you've watched the John Wick series, like, don't think you're going to see Citizen Kane or something like that, right? It is an action movie. It is there to entertain you. It is almost 3 hours of non-stop action. It is the most fun that I've had in a movie theater since probably Spider-Man: No Way Home. Go see John Wick 4. Don't wait for it to come out on your screen. Even if you've got like the super surround sound and a giant screen, you're going to miss something. Go see it in the big screen. Really, really fun movie. I had a blast. All right, so yeah, did you like it, Vanessa Kitty? So let's go ahead and wind this one down. I really appreciate everybody staying with me tonight. This was a fun one. I'll do some more knife live streams in the future. The No, 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 don't do spoilers. I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen it. And Lee's gonna watch Cocaine Bear. Please check out everyone that's helping to mod here. Check out their channels. Bacon usually goes live later on tonight. Lee's been helping out there. Please check out his channel. If you scroll all the way to the top of the chat, I put some of their links in there for you. And so please check those out. And also some of the other mods that weren't here tonight, check their channels out as well. Hope you all have a great weekend. One last thing, I like to end with something positive on our Friday night live streams. One last thing is just remember, I know that there's a lot of stuff that's ticking us all off in online, in the news, in politics. Me too. Me too. I totally get it. And it's so tempting to just go out, and I've been guilty of this many, many times. It's one of the sins I struggle with, is just go out there and rant and assert my opinion out into the internet, thinking that I'm going to somehow change someone's mind, or influence things, or just rant because it makes me feel better, or whatever. Um, it's okay to express your opinion online. It's okay to express your politics online. I certainly do that. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I talk politics a little bit over there. But I'm trying to work on this for myself, and maybe some of you need to hear this as well. Being mean, just is a bad look, right? So I can assert my feelings and things that bother me and express my feelings, but I can still do it in a way where I'm not being mean to people, right? Kindness costs me nothing. And I'm not so much speaking to anyone here that's in chat. I'm speaking to myself, right? Because this is an issue I need to work on too. I like to be a positive person. And so I need to always try to remember that feels good to be a positive person. And I can be a positive and I can be assertive about these things if they bother me or not, but I can also do it in a way where I'm not being hateful, right? So just remember that. I hope that reaches anybody else out there that's kind of working on that same issue that I'm working on. And know that I really appreciate you all. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's just look up Prepping with Sarge. It should pop right up. And Max says he's mean and positive. Yeah, you could be both. I hope you all have a great weekend. I really appreciate y'all. I really love this community. I'm so grateful for it. Thank you so much for spending part of your weekend with me. Make sure you get out there and have some fun. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your knives. This is Prepping with Sarge.